IBM is axing. They are killing their outdated, their words, DEI policies. This is not fake. This is not a drill. This is a real thing that is really happening right now. Both IBM and their sub company, their Linux giant Red Hat, are doing away with their diversity quotas for their hiring and firing, which we've been covering here in the Lunduke Journal for over a year now, and they're getting sued about right now. They're just doing away with them completely, and they're axing their DEI programs and their employees. They're true believers. They're DEI thumpers. The people who have made DEI and wokeness their religion, well, those employees in IBM are pissed off. They are frothing mad. And thanks to whistleblowers from inside both Red Hat and IBM, we have all of the details of all of it. And we have a front row seat to a whole bunch of spitting mad IBM DEI true believers ranting and raving and throwing temper tantrums about it. It's one extra way you know this is real. All right, let's go through the details here. The quick high-level background here. The Lunduke Journal's been covering this since December of 2023, when these leaks started. Whistleblowers started coming forward from both IBM and Red Hat with videos, with slide deck presentations and email archives and Slack channel screenshots and pictures of flyers, and it was nuts. It was all over the place, and it all pointed to one incontrovertible bit of evidence, a bit of reality, that IBM and Red Hat were doing some very shady, very illegal things in discriminating against people based on skin color, based on gender, based on sexual orientation, and the like. And it was ridiculous. And over the last year and a half, the Lunduke Journal has been the only tech news outlet in the land that has been consistently covering this story. As the leaks flood in, they only got published here. And all the other tech news outlets, they either ignored every little bit of it, every lawsuit that got filed, or they ran cover for IBM and Red Hat and tried to attack anyone who was a victim of IBM and Red Hat. It was despicable. Well, as time went on, the lawsuits kept going and we kept covering it. But then, this morning, I start getting messages from inside of Red Hat, the open source company, where Matt Hicks, the Red Hat CEO, had sent out a company-wide email basically making it clear that they were just dropping all of their DEI stuff. They were going to remove discussions of diversity from their website. They were going to stop DEI quotas. They were going to get rid of diversity requirements for third-party suppliers, and on and on and on. And I started immediately hearing from people inside of Red Hat who were fans of the Lunduke Journal, but secretly, because you don't let people know you're a fan of the Lunduke Journal when you work inside a big tech company. You keep that on the down low, otherwise it doesn't go well. But the secret fans in there, they let me know that it's been hilarious all day long, that people have just been ranting and raving about this. But I wanted to know, was this just at Red Hat? How real was this? Because like you, I immediately thought, well, I mean, that's great. I like to see a big tech company moving away from DEI, even if it's just in name only. It's still good forward momentum, even if they're moving to Bridge or whatever acronym they decide to replace DEI with, but it's still DEI. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted to see more. I needed to see proof. But I kept hearing throughout, as the hours ticked by. I published a story around this. I put a video and podcast up, and I kept hearing from people at Red Hat. And they're like, no, this seems legit. People are freaked out about it. And I'm like, okay. And then it dropped. I get leaked from a whistleblower at IBM, the parent company at Red Hat, that, yeah, this is happening across all of IBM, and I've got the entire announcement here. I'm gonna read it to you now. I'm just gonna read the whole gosh darn thing to you now. This was published yesterday, April 7th. So about 24 hours ago, it went out to people with inside IBM. How the Lunduke Journal is the first and only outlet in all of the land that's publishing any of this stuff is amazing to me. But whistleblowers sent it over, and God bless them for doing it. But this was an article entitled IBM's Culture of Inclusion. Okay. And this was built into IBMer News, which is their company-wide newsletter. And it was written by a senior vice president of human resources at IBM. And I'm just going to read the whole gosh darn thing to you now so you know what to make of all this. IBMers. IBMers, such a weird word. Talent is what drives our business. In order to deliver for our clients, build innovative products, and achieve sustainable growth, we must, bullet points, ensure we have access to all talent pools and retain our highly skilled, high-performing talent by creating an internal culture where they can collectively thrive. Okay. Failure to do these things puts IBM at a competitive disadvantage. This reality drives our plans in skill building, recruitment, compensation, and benefits investments, performance management, workplace design, ways of working, and much more. It also drives our focus on cultural inclusion. Okay, interesting. Okay. It continues. Recently, diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, has been the focus of many headlines, particularly in the United States, and is part of ongoing discussions with many of IBM's stakeholders. Clients, employees, investors, policymakers, and others. Some stakeholders praise our long history in this area. Some stakeholders think we aren't doing enough. Some stakeholders want us to do less. You think? In addition to this stakeholder commentary, as a global company, it is also imperative that we are fully compliant with all applicable laws, executive orders, and government policies, even as they shift. Just this aside. Obviously, they're talking about the Trump executive orders. Obviously, they're talking about the fact that there's legal action against their company coming from multiple fronts, and there's Trump judges assigned to some of those cases, and that's not going to go well, and they need to get ahead of this, right? They continue. This can be challenging. Understatement. Particularly when laws are not always consistent from country to country or state to state. While this poses a challenging environment, we should all be confident in the company's ability to navigate this complexity. As a global company, IBM has successfully done this for over 100 years while remaining true to our principles, and we will continue to do so. I'm just going to stop for a second and take an aside. IBM has successfully done this for over 100 years. Well, it's 2025. I wonder if anything's happened between 1925 and 2025, in that 100-year time span, that maybe IBM shouldn't be so proud of. I'm just going to throw this out there. Maybe something closer to the 1925 than today, but I'm just saying, maybe there's a couple things in there, little World War II action time period things that maybe IBM doesn't have the greatest diversity track record on. Let's just going to throw that out there. Like real good stuff, real stuff. Holy heavens. I continue. While the legal and policy, I love how IBM people like to gloss over their involvement there. Anyway, I move on. Well, the legal and policy landscape around the topic continues to change. Let me start with what is not changing. Okay. IBM's inclusion policy and practices are about talent. This dates back to IBM's beginnings and was formalized in 1953 when Thomas Watson, Jr., wrote IBM Policy Letter Number 4. And while our overarching principle of inclusion has not changed, practices are ever evolving. Our science and technology history requires experimentation, collecting facts, and adjusting what we do to ensure better outcomes across our company. As a result, we have adjusted, here we go, we have adjusted some of our programs and our communications over the past few months. For example, aspirational diversity goals are no longer part of the executive incentive program, which is instead focused on talent and innovation measures. That's a big deal, because that is a core part of the reason that IBM is getting sued, is they literally tied executive bonus and pay performance to their performance in hiring people based on skin color and gender, right? Which is illegal. They literally set hard numbers and said, if you as an executive, you as a manager can achieve certain DEI levels, if you can discriminate enough, we'll give you a bonus. Crazy illegal. And they're ending that right here. That this is not, I want to be very clear here, because this is not a DEI program renaming itself. This is the end of a formalized, measurable corporate policy. And if they don't follow through on it, it's easy for us to follow up, because again, the Lunduke Journal has eyes everywhere. Continue. You may also notice changes to our website designed to attract the most qualified talent pool and to, and I love this bit, eliminate outdated content and terminology. Yeah. And what are they talking about here? Diversity stuff, DEI stuff. They start removing that across all of the IBM properties. I'm going to show you one example in just a moment. There are inherent tensions in practicing inclusion. It is impossible to be all things to all people, but IBMers have long been guided by one of our core values: trust and personal responsibility in all relationships. When tensions arise, we work through them respectfully and diligently, just like when we are solving a client problem or working on the next product breakthrough. We will not always agree, but we always find a path forward. This is who we are. This is from Nicole J. Lamoureux, Senior Vice President, Chief Human Resource Officer. And this went out company-wide and caused a massive amount of hissy fits. I'm going to read those to you in a second. But first, I want to show you guys one example here of some of the stuff they're scrubbing. So right here is from their internal messaging system in their diversity inclusion room. We've talked about this before. I've showed you screenshots from this before about a year and a half ago that got leaked from their diversity and inclusion chat Slack rooms that they've got there at IBM. Someone just yesterday, or just this morning, early this morning, linked to ibm.com/history/diversity policies. By 11 a.m. that morning, that page was gone. So this is what it looked like. This is what it looked like on before April 7th, right before a day ago. Diversity, equity, inclusion, guided by respect to the individual. IBM has been a progressive actor, and blah 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 blah. It's all about DEI stuff, right? You go to that same page, ibm.com history/diversity policies now. It redirects you to a web page about IBM heritage and history that has nothing to do with DEI at all. It just is like, hey, we make computers and we make, adding machines and stuff. We're IBM. It's cool. They completely scrubbed it out. It's fantastic. Now I'm going to move over here because I want to show you guys some of the statements that are being made, because the people internally at IBM, oh yeah, they're taking this seriously. The IBM employees have verified it with their managers. Their policies are changing across the board. Websites and everything are changing. Diversity groups are being ended. Some of the diversity groups are being renamed and reformed. And I think you, me, and everyone else is looking at those sorts of issues where a diversity group is now like an employee resource group. It's like, okay, so now it's the same thing but renamed different, right? But everything around it is getting axed, right? So all the official hiring and firing policies gone, the diversity websites gone. Talk about not just the words DEI, but the concepts behind it gone from the website, and the people are irate. People are yelling about how IBM is bending the knee to the current U.S. administration, and they have, quote, failed spectacularly. And this is sinister, they say. It's capitulation. It's standing on the wrong side of history. Another one, just say it. These changes, and these are IBM employees. I want to make it clear. These are IBM employees, not venting publicly, but with their real names, their real faces, venting to their managers and their fellow coworkers, where their executives can see it all. This is all public stuff there internally at IBM. But whistleblowers gave it to me. Just say it. These changes intend to appease the current U.S. administration. Let's not forget the human and civil rights violations that are ongoing, directly encouraged by the current administration. Let's not forget ICE raiding without warrants, detaining without proof, fabricating evidence in some cases. Let's not forget Mahmoud Khalil. Yeah, they bring in Hamas terrorists because these DEI true believers, they love the Hamas terrorists and they don't like them being roughed up by ICE or whatever. Absolutely shameful position by our executive management, capitulating to a growing mindset of bigotry towards so many minorities, removing outdated terms that are not outdated at all. The current political climate is unstable, to put it mildly. This is wrong. And this goes on and on. I published I don't know, a good dozen or so of these. What a very sad day for IBM. I am really sorry to hear that we do not have the courage to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion as our objectives. This topic is not debatable. I am sad that IBM follows the general mood in the United States. What are we willing to throw away next just because it is not convenient anymore? Another one. It is so shocking to see how, with carefully crafted verbal smoke screens like outdated terms, that everything that IBM has built over the last 100 years is being destroyed and thrown overboard in mindless preemptive obedience. Our values are worth nothing if we give them up so easily just to please a crazy guy who is currently driving America into the abyss and doesn't care about the damage he is causing worldwide. A guy who denies scientific findings, uses verbal smokescreens to justify the destruction of democracy. Destruction of democracy. That came up a couple of times. Massively offends all of America's long-standing international partners and oppresses and pits minorities against each other. The phrase "to eliminate outdated content and terminology" says it all. Insidious. It goes on and on and on. It is amazing. Words like diversity, equity, inclusion are not outdated. They just happen to be lightning rods for the Trump administration. And they accuse DEI executives of conforming to the Trump administration because of federal contact. And it's not okay to claim that these key words and content are outdated. Man, they really didn't like that. I felt lucky that IBM valued diversity, equity, and inclusion until this week. As a queer and gender non-conforming person at this company, today's statement, IBM's culture of inclusion, the one I read you, is exactly what I've been fearing from IBM. Many folks have been concerned that IBM would abandon diversity, equity, and inclusion because of the current administration's efforts to erase decades of progress. They then accuse, them of trying to curry favor with Donald Trump, cravenly capitulating to bigoted fascists. These are all IBM employees. They are pissed. They are furious. I should have known better than to trust that IBM would take a principled stand on anything. They're telling this to their bosses. The administration you're unctuously appeasing has also scrubbed women, black people, and queer folk from public acknowledgments. Men and our never-ending need to claim everything. We now use merit as the new code word for why we should be in control. They really don't like the idea of merit. And these are not the executives, right? The people at IBM made the choice to start axing some of these diversity quotas and measurements and some of the diversity programs and take the diversity stuff off the website and just axe a ton of it. And they're doing it downstream as well. So they're doing it to the companies that they own. You'll notice IBM and Red Hat did this on the same day. This was a very coordinated effort. And a lot of people, I saw a lot of people internally at IBM that were very supportive of this. They're like, oh, thank God, finally. But there's also a ton of true DEI believers that are furious. This is wrong. Being African American or female or Latino or Asian or Muslim or LGBT plus isn't outdated content and terminology. It's dog whistle language. This isn't a good look. Come on, IBM, do better. No, diversity is no longer a word included. Absolutely unfortunate. This is a gut punch. I mean, it goes on and on. It goes on and on and on. So here's the takeaway. Here's the takeaway. The IBM and Red Hat executives, they're making changes that are measurable. Now I am and remain extraordinarily skeptical of everything I hear out of IBM and Red Hat. This is not enough for me to go, oh, IBM and Red Hat, well, they're great then. They've done some real shady things. They've hurt a lot of people. They've broken a ton of laws. They've been racist and sexist. They've engaged in religious discrimination. It's nuts. We've documented the heck out of that here at the Lunduke Journal. They don't get a pass here on any of that. I also don't trust that they're going to implement this wonderfully well, and then all of a sudden they're going to snap their fingers and wiggle their nose and bewitched it into goodness here, and they're suddenly not going to be discriminatory and doing DEI stuff anymore. However, because many of these changes are distinctly measurable, like ending some of the diversity quotas around suppliers, ending the executive performance programs where the executives are rewarded or fired in some cases because of how they perform related to DEI and DEI hiring. Those are measurable. Those are things that we can see whether they're doing them or not relatively quickly. Over the coming weeks and months, we'll know if they're doing those things or not. It's also worth noting that the people who love DEI the most inside both Red Hat and IBM are rioting today. They are flipping tables and burning the house down, right? They are going crazy. I expect this to spill out into, more blogs and social media and the like in the coming days. But internally, they're throwing a hissy fit. They believe this is real. They believe this is a real attack on DEI. They think that IBM and Red Hat have abandoned them and abandoned their DEI principles to an intense degree. Also, the people who don't like DEI inside Red Hat, who I've spoken to, everyone they've talked to, all the management, this seems to them like, yeah, it's happening. Now, both companies, IBM and Red Hat, are making, obviously, some overtures to try and placate the DEI religious zealots, right? To try and make them think, oh, we still like inclusion, so you guys should just calm down. That doesn't seem to be working. And that also doesn't seem to be rooted in any sort of measurable policy. Right? All of the measurable policies that I can find that were DEI centric are being removed entirely. So this is a big deal. This is a big deal. Again, be skeptical. Be skeptical. This is IBM and Red Hat we're talking about, right? Be very, very skeptical. I certainly as heck am going to be. But at this point, today alone, I've spoken to a large number of employees at both companies. And it seems like everybody on both sides of the DEI issue are in agreement that this is happening. Some like it and some don't. But it does seem to be happening. And that is a good thing. That is a win. That is most definitely a win. It's not a yay, hurrah, the whole war is over. It's done. We can move on now because there's no more DEI. We can't even say that about IBM and Red Hat. We can't just say, oh, well, it's all good. Toss it. We wipe our hands of it. We're done. Walk away. There's no more DEI, right? We can't say that. There's still lawsuits going on. There's still past wrongs. And there's still the case of, well, these companies need to prove that they're actually going to follow through on not being racist, sexist, bigoted DEI people and have those sorts of policies in their company. Also, they still have a tremendous amount of employees at the company that are true believers, religious zealots promoting DEI within the company. Will those people be able to have sway and make the company swing back towards DEI? We don't know. But let's take a win where we can get it. This is a win. This is undeniably a win. This is a huge anti-DEI big win in some of the biggest big tech companies in the world. We're talking about IBM and Red Hat here. Red Hat is the king of open source and Linux, and IBM is friggin' IBM. And they just took an axe to DEI in a way that really pissed off the DEI lovers. And I like that. Anything that makes those people mad, I probably like it a lot. I'm going to continue following up on this. I actually have a tremendous amount of leaked material I have not published yet, but I've been publishing leaked material since this morning. And again, the only outlet on earth that's reporting on any of this, on the Red Hat stuff, on the IBM stuff, on any of it. It's just been nonstop. We'll probably be publishing more later on this week. But if you work, and this is just a straight call out, if you work in IBM or Red Hat, or one of the other IBM subsidiaries, and you can verify some additional things for me. If you, because I've got some things I haven't published yet because I need to verify a few things. If you have access to internal Slack channels, materials, emails, all that sort of thing, and you would like to become a whistleblower, reach out to me. Head on over to lunduke.com. And if you scroll down that page, there's a little how to become a whistleblower, a tech whistleblower link. And you can email me there. You can also just send me a direct message on X. You can send me an email at brian@lunduke.com. Lots and lots of ways, Brian with a Y, by the way. There's lots of ways to get a hold of me. I always keep the identity of all whistleblowers from every company a secret. That's a firm policy that's unwavering. I take very great care to only publish material in such a way that it does not trace back to those who leaked it to me. But again, we do have a lot more to go through already. Whew, it's a lot. This has been a crazy ride. This does in some way feel like a pretty massive success after the last year and a half of coverage of Red Hat and IBM and the awful things that they do. These giants in the tech industry and their rampant and blatant discrimination against their employees, and being one of the only places in the journalism world, certainly the only place in the tech journalism world that has really taken this seriously and really pushed this forward, publishing these leaks, verifying these leaks, getting this information out there, tracking the court cases meticulously. It's paying off. We're seeing real significant results. We at the Lunduke Journal, in a very, very real, obvious way, have had an impact on this. I've heard from multiple people who have some knowledge of some of these discussions that have been going on. The coverage that the Lunduke Journal has done around these issues at IBM and Red Hat has had a very real and dramatic impact on these decisions being made. That feels good. We've effected real change here, and measurable, demonstrable, and it's awesome. I hate to use the phrase winning, but maybe just a little bit. Thank you to the Lunduke Journal subscribers for making this all possible, by the way. Go to lunduke.com, subscribe, because you'll notice there's no ads in this show, right? There's no sponsors. This episode brought to you by Squares. No, none of that. None of that's happening here. So no company, no foundation, no advertising firm can cancel the Lunduke Journal. It is supported 100% by you, by nerds and people who love the world of computing and IT and the tech industry like you, who want to see these things covered. Because if the Lunduke Journal is not covering these things, if the Lunduke Journal had not been here to cover these things, this news would not be happening today. The odds of that are almost nil. The amount of news stories that have been coming out because you make it possible are astronomical. Some of the biggest stories in the entire computer industry over the last several years have only been covered here, have been broken here, from investigative journalism here, from whistleblowers and leaks that have been verified and published here, and covered nowhere else, and made dramatic impacts. You did that. You did that. I mean, I had something to do with it. That feels good. I couldn't do it without all of you. Wouldn't be possible. Wouldn't be possible. Couldn't do it. I'd have to get advertisers and they would cancel me in a heartbeat. They take one look at my weekly lineup for the shows just this week alone. Nope. No effort. Right. Let's say Microsoft was, this episode brought to you by Microsoft, IBM and Red Hat. Yeah. How long do you think that's going to last? They're going to pull that sponsorship lickety split. But I got you guys having my back. It feels good. Go to lunduke.com, click on some things. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, I will be following up on all this because I will be verifying every little bit of it. And IBM and Red Hat, they stray a little bit. I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to talk about it from the top of the mountain. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes across the inner tubes, I do declare, end broadcast.